So if we do a t-test, we need some variable that's categorical and specifically one that has two categories. And we could create that kind of fakely. For example, percent with no high school diploma. We could separate all Pennsylvania counties into they have 10% or less, or 11% or more have a high school diploma. We could do an artificial category. But I think a more natural one might be something like political party affiliation, maybe Republican or Democrat. Um, that would be a nice, clean categorical. Let's take a look at list of Pennsylvania counties, political affiliation. This XLSX is really nice because it helps us cut directly to where we might be able to find some spreadsheets. If we go here, sure enough, there's an Excel spreadsheet. We download and get something that looks like this. So this has every Pennsylvania county, presumably, and how many votes each candidate in the 2016 election got. Let's just focus in on Democrats and Republicans. That'll give us two categories. So really we want to just code, let me code it Republican. So that what that means is if there's a 1 in this category, that county voted more Republican than Democrat. If there's a 0, more people voted for Democrat than Republican. So we could go through and we could look here. Adams County had more for Trump than Clinton, so we could put a 1 there, but you might quickly guess that that's not the most efficient way to do it. So if we do what's called an if formula, put an equal sign and then an if, all I want to do is I want to check if this number is greater than, so in other words, if this number is bigger than this number, comma, that tells me this is the thing I'm checking for. I'm checking whether this number is larger than this one. That's kind of funny. They coded it blue and red just randomly. The value, if true, would be 1, because if this number truly is bigger than this, we want a 1 to show up. We want to denote it as a Republican voting county, comma, in the other situations, we want to put a 0. That'll mean that there were more Democrat votes than Republican. I'm going to close the parentheses, press enter, and then if I just click on this cell, double click there, I get all the counties. Notice that total, I'm going to go ahead and delete that so it doesn't confuse me. That's not one of the 68 or 67 Pennsylvania counties. Okay, so now I have all of the counties and coded Republican or not. How do I get that into a spreadsheet? Well, there's a couple different ways to do it. Let me do this. So I'm going to, first of all, paste these as values instead of formulas. And then I'm going to get rid of all of this so that I can just copy in each county's name and whether or not they are Republican. So I'm going to move that over. Spreadsheet. Let me put it right here. Okay, now the one thing I have to be careful of is if one of the, whoops, you know what? This was not organized alphabetically by county name, so these aren't going to match up at all. I'm going to hold off on the paste. I'm going to go ahead and sort, filter on. I'm going to sort by county name, A to Z. That'll get me Adams County at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste. So now they should match up. And we check at the bottom. We do notice that York matches up with York and Adams matches up with Adams. How do I know if they all match up? Again, I can use that tricky if formula, equals if. I'm going to say if this equals this, 0, otherwise 1. Okay, and then all I have to do is check anything that's a 1, because if they're the same, it'll give me a 0, right? If those two county names are the same, and it's not case sensitive here, then it'll just give me a 0. But if they are different, if something went off, like one of the counties wasn't there or something, it would give me a 1. And notice that I can even select the entire column. I see that the sum is 0. I know that there's no 1s in there, which is great. It means that everything matches up, and I can just call this Republican here. I can even get rid of this now and my checker column, and now I have a brand new column that has Republican status. This would be perfect for a t-test. You could just divide the two groups. When you do the t-test, before you do it, all you would need to do is sort, and that'll put the few Democrat counties all together, the 11 who voted more for Clinton than Trump, and all the rest Republicans would be together. So that gives us our two groups. Then our outcome for the t-test, we could do percent with no high school diploma, percent with these would probably be my two picks. You could do something here, but here where we're talking the raw numbers, Philadelphia County is going to dominate. So I would highly suggest going with one of these two percents for your outcome variable, or changing this into a percent, this into a percent, this into a percent, changing something. That way you don't have to worry about county size dominating.